Titleist is the number one ball in golf. Yes, being number one is a number, and more players trust the Pro V1 or Pro V1X than all other golf balls combined. But being number one is more than a number. It's a mindset. It's a relentless mission to design and manufacture the best performing golf balls in the game, so you can chase whatever your number one is. Titleist, the number one ball in golf.
I've never seen anything like it before, and to attempt to hit the ball out of there is pure madness.
The winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Cameron Smith.
This is the one that I've always wanted to win since I was a little kid. So it just feels pretty amazing to be able to get it done today.
It's amazing that it's my destiny to be the first Aussie to win. Just incredible.
Bonjour and welcome to episode 71 of Playing from the Tips, Golf Australia Magazine's tipping and preview podcast that you may have guessed from that intro is French themed with the fourth women's major of the year upon us. Yes, the focus is primarily on the Amundi Evian Championship, but there is also the Scottish Open, LIV's return and more.
Or the Open to Scotland.
The Open to Scotland,
as
thank you.
French listeners would expect it.
Exactly right. Jimmy Emanuel here in the host chair, attempting to direct and control the so-called experts who this week welcome an all-new face and view on the game. First, tried and true, albeit some would say slumping, former tipster of the year, Adrian Logue, who is still reeling from the win of Ewan Ferguson, who he has a yet unexplained one-sided beef with. Logue, welcome.
Yes, thank you, Jimmy.
I
wasn't,
by the way,
ready. I've been thinking about what to say about Ewan Ferguson and his pathetic, beautiful golf swing that wins on boring golf courses.
Win.
And you might expect that. I think he's a chance when he's coming home this week to the Scottish Open.
Yep.
But this course isn't going to suit his stupid game.
We'll get there. Next, not here because Rod Murray is out of action or because three other people said no, but because of his insights. It is the creator and proprietor of Angus and Grace Go Golfing, generational ball striker, former bookmaker and Jin Young Ko's biggest fan, Matt Burns on debut. Matt, welcome.
Thank you, Jimmy. It's really exciting to be here.
Oh, it sounds like it's exciting, yeah. Before we dive into all the golf on offer this week, Matt, we like to look back on highlights from last week at this point in the show. I'm going to lead off. David Micheluzzi, one of Australian golf's good guys and proof of the pathways on offer here, finished second at the BMW International Open. What other highlights? His 3-wood into the 72nd hole was also incredible.
It was almost good enough to knock off Ferguson.
It was almost. I bet you were right behind that, yeah. Matt, any highlights last week? Bernhard Langer played his last event in Germany. Davis Thompson.
Yeah, look, the Langer thing was pretty exciting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't really watch much of the rest of it, to be honest. But the Langer thing was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the player party where they all get up in the Bavarian gear and they had a big farewell for him.
He spoke very well as well.
Yep.
I watched a fair bit of the Morocco event just because I was kind of interested in the golf course, and there was some good Australian performances in that as well.
Well, let's get to that one as another thing of Ben Campbell, Kiwi, LIV Reserve, wins in Morocco at the International Series. That conveniently leads us to our results for last week because I tipped Ben Campbell to win.
Did indeed.
Rod tipped John Catlin, who came second. So we had another top 10 as well. So that is 91 top 10s and 15 wins for the year, which leads strokes gained tipping from a Sydney podcast studio.
Yeah.
Wow.
You aware of that stat, Matt?
Yeah. I'm not a big traditional strokes gain guy, but we might be able to throw it together today and make it work. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably the premier French-friendly tipping podcast in the world.
I'd say so, yeah. I'm not aware of any others. Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. On to this week and France, the Amundi Evian Championship, which became a major in 2013. And this week we'll see the home hope Celine Boutier defend her title. Logue Water is the obvious sponsor watch, but what about the golf course? I think everyone knows Evian.
Indeed, water's the theme of the week, really, with the Evian Resort Golf Club overlooking Lake Geneva. And it's really a very beautiful location, but there's virtually no views of Lake Geneva from this golf course, apart from one hole, which is the one you probably see photographed all the time. The par 3 second, steeply downhill, and it's the signature hole, and it does have quite a good view of the water of Lake Geneva. This was originally a 9-hole layout built by Willie Park Jr.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's actually got some pedigree.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's come under the knife many times since then. Notably, it underwent an $8 million renovation in 2012, 2013 under architect Steve Smyers, who I've actually played a couple of Steve Smyers things, including he did Cypress Lakes.
He did indeed. His only Australian design.
Indeed.
I think he was married to an Australian.
Yeah. I played a course of his in Florida, which was Sandbelt inspired.
Yeah.
And it wasn't well suited to
Always
Florida.
a worry when it says inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And European golf design also helped with that renovation.
Well, I've been to the Royal Melbourne Country Club.
Yes,
You
Not
have.
many people
you
have
have.
been
I
there.
thought you were going to.
Not many people have seen both the pencils.
I thought you might give that flex then. The course has copped some significant criticism as, I think, mainly as a tournament venue or as a major venue, more specifically. Lexi Thompson famously said, too many bad breaks with good shots.
And she's not showing up again this year.
Yeah, and Stacey Lewis is also somebody who has boycotted the tournament for a number of years. Just on the topic of this course, I'd like to introduce a new segment to the podcast, Jimmy. Elevation Watch. This is another course that's at elevation, similar to Sahali.
Yes.
Which I think was pseudo elevation, but it's Sahali. It was there in the name, Heavenly High Ground.
Yes. Good callback.
Whereas Sahali was only 180 metres high, or as I like to think of it, 1 KPMG tower.
Yes. KPMG Tower in Sydney.
Indeed, yeah, in Barangaroo more specifically. The elevation of Evian is actually more decent. It's decently elevated on the footsteps of the Alps, 480 metres above sea level, or 2.6 Sahalis, as I like to think of it. There's also 300 feet of elevation change across the course itself. A lot of steep side angle lies. The course sort of weaves its way up and down this hill, and it's a course I imagine. I haven't been there. Have you?
I haven't been there either. No.
I imagine it's quite like a lot of those courses you see in Japan. I've seen a lot of these courses in Japan. They're in the foothills of mountains.
Yep.
And it's like one of those, but on a much steeper tilt. Yeah.
I've played it on a simulator, and it's pretty narrow out there. Let me tell you, you can get in some really nasty spots, especially like immediately off the tee.
Yeah,
that's right.
A lot of bouncers that go to places that are just unpleasant.
Correct. Yes. Well, that's hence Lexi's criticism there. It is very narrow. I think that would be a criticism of it. It's narrow, a little bit repetitive, a lot of long, straight holes through narrow corridors of trees and thick rough either side, but with fairly crazy greens. You'll see this, I think it's been noticeable in the last few years with some of the camera angles they've got. The greens are pretty out there. All in all, it's one of those courses, I think it would be fine if it was a tour event. If it was just a regular tour event, which is how this tournament started, everyone would actually be all the way around the other way with it and think, oh, it's kind of interesting going there every year. But it's because it's a major event. People are like, oh, hang on. And it's the same course every year for this major. It doesn't achieve what it sets out to achieve. And I think that's what people get upset about.
There will be that talk all week about why major at this venue and everything like that. But it's sort of grounded in good sort of a good concept in terms of Evian were a big sponsor of women's golf, and they decided, well, let's back their support by giving it major status. It also takes a major outside the US, which we complain about constantly.
So they brought a lot of money to the game.
They brought a lot of money, and now the other majors have gone up and up and up, and they have to keep pushing their prize money, which is a good net result.
That's sweet water money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
is it less evil than Texas money?
Water money's good money, in my opinion. In terms of players to watch, it's a major, so all the big names are there, except for Lexi in her final year of full-time. But Nelly Corder's, without question, the most interesting. So wins 6 basically on the bounce at the start of the year, and then has missed 3 straight cuts, including 2 majors. So I think
worrying.
And this is not necessarily her sort of venue either. So that'll be a fascinating part of watching this week. I don't think anyone quite knows the story, but she's had a couple of like a blowout hole at these majors and whatever, and it just becomes hard to bounce back from. She also got so much bad luck at KPMG when she was trying to make the cut. So it'll be interesting to see. Lilia Vu remains one of the best players on the planet. Celine Boutier, mentioned at the top, defending champion, and at home, Brooke Henderson, runner-up last year, has played well here a lot. Charlie Hull looks like she's really close to a win, although that may be inflated by she's getting attention for everything but golf at times. She's smoking and been at Wimbledon this week with every other Ryder Cup golfer, just about, it seems. But I haven't mentioned one name, and we're going to open it up to the person who's going to mention that name.
Okay, I think I know where this is going.
Jin Young Ko is, of course, a factor. Yeah. Matt, tell us why she's going to win, and then give us your tip, which I think will be the same person you're going to talk about now.
Well, I'll get ahead of it. It is going to be the same person. Look, she's the best player in the world. I think that's pretty irrefutable. She's broken a bunch of Tiger's records. You know, most holes without a bogey. She had like
113 holes, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
She was so relieved when she finally made a bogey at the end of that.
Oh, exactly. Any of those streaks, like when you're on a no 3-putt streak and stuff, you're just waiting for it to happen to get out of it.
She had a massive greens in regulation.
Yeah, she did. I mean, there's not many people that are used to this kind of rarefied air, and I think up in the mountains in France, it's going to suit her perfectly. She's extremely accurate. She's extremely composed. She's very under the radar with this Nelly and Charlie buzz and stuff like that. And, you know, had it not been for the girl that won the PGA, what's her name? Not Alison Lee, the other one.
That would be Amy Yang.
Amy Yang. If it wasn't for Amy Yang, you know, JYK came second in that event. So, and that was just a pure precision kind of test. So I think look for JYK. I'll certainly be cheering for her. And Ewan's been giving me some insights from on the ground. She looks pretty focused this week. So I'm there for JYK this week.
That is some genuine background to a tip that we've never had. Ewan Porter is, of course, Ewan, who's there commentating this week. Good luck to Ports. But that's some genuine background and some stats, which worries me that might actually come true. Okay. Logue?
Well, I like to tip with my head, not with my heart. And
both. Talk about it.
And I like Taya Titikin this week. She's been showing signs of steady improvement all year, actually. And she's experienced there. I was thinking about a few other players who probably haven't got their experience under their belt at Evian, but she's been there a few years now, and I think it's time for her to get involved again.
I may have discounted her attention on her golf in terms of Charlie Hull, but I'm going to tip her anyway because I feel like a Women's Open, she's going to be a big chance, but this place is going to be one of those things that she has to be switched on. So she tends to show up. She's been close at a couple of the majors, just a little bit back, like one round basically where it gets away from her, but I think she's going to pick off one of these ones and then win a few more in a bit of a row. So going to the old course for the Women's Open, AIG Women's Open, I think she's going to be a big chance here.
I think the perception is she sprays it round a bit, which wouldn't suit this, but she's pretty accurate.
Yeah,
actually.
Exactly. You got to be a ball striker around here. Boutier, Minjee Lee, all those people. Yep. Interestingly, there's tournament invites into a major here, which kind of surprised me a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a list of tournament invites, which includes Ingrid Lindblad, former amateur star. But there's also...
she's a pro now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's a big LET contingent because of the co-sanctioning. So you bring in Bronte Law, Anne Van Dam, Aditya Ashok, all those people who've played a bit of LPGA but go back because they lose their status, which this becomes a very important week.
Your golf ball is the most technologically advanced, or it's not. Your golf ball is either the most consistent, or it's not. It's the most trusted, or it's not. The fact is, it's either Titleist, the best performing golf ball in the world, or it's not. Prove it for yourself. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf. What will you play?
So that leads us to an outsider tip, and I will lead it off. Gabby Lopez tied third at this event last year. She was 14th at the KPMG. She's a better player than her record suggests.
Super hard worker too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just strikes as she should show up more in these things.
Pick
so, yes, thank you. Logue, you can give us an outsider if you like.
Leona Maguire, I think, just qualifies as an outsider.
She's like in her last weeks as an outsider.
And had a win last week on the LET.
She did.
Well, so in form.
Finished in the middle of the week, which kind of loses its kind of attention.
Should be a good course fit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolute flusher. Matt, an outsider at the Evian?
I think Georgia Hall, because she's been hanging out with Charlie Hull a bit recently, and she'll be getting pumped up for the Olympics, and she's super accurate, and she's won a major before. So
Gone missing a little bit.
She has. She's
year or so.
dipped in and out a little bit.
Yeah, maybe this is the week. She's pretty accurate, doesn't hit it very far, but I think that could be a good fit for her this week.
I like it. Okay. There's a strong Australian representation here. Hannah Green, Minjee Lee, Gabby Ruffles, Grace Kim, Hira Naveed, Steph Kiriakou and Sarah Kemp, all who are trying to join Rachel Hetherington, Wendy Doolan, Kari Webb and Minjee herself on the honour roll. Majors have been not quite what we would have expected, I think, for that group this year, given how good they've been in the other events, apart from Minjee's US Women's Open run. But I think we can probably expect a big run for the last two. It's the last sort of major, important sort of event that Minjee and Hannah will play before the Olympics in France at Le Golf National. Who do we like from the Australians? Matt, you can lead us off with an Australian tip.
I think it would be very hard not to go with Minjee Lee, as much as Hannah has been playing very well. But yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't tip Minjee.
Loke, tell us why you're not going to tip Minjee.
No, I'll tip Minjee.
Okay.
Yeah, it's too much class and very classy player.
Classy place to Evian.
Yeah, yeah, and she's very comfortable there. Yep. And yeah, it's very hard to go past her.
I'm going to be different and tip Grace Kim because we talked about accuracy. Yeah. There isn't anyone really more accurate out there. And she's Instagram posts and stories are a good lead in to picking your player. She's thriving.
Is she ready to play today?
Yeah.
I considered Grace Kim, but I was worried about her short game around this golf course.
Yeah.
There's really tricked up greens and funny surrounds and stuff. I was worried about Grace's short game. She hits a lot of greens. No problem.
Yeah, that is definitely the concern, but yeah, I back her. Next, let's move along, remain in the old world of sorts. Head for Scotland, where the PGA Tour and DP World Tour come together in the lead up to the 152nd Open Championship. This week it is the Genesis Scottish Open. Logue, despite being a links golf tune-up as a concept, does the Renaissance Club count as links golf?
Look, I think it does. At least half the course does. It's sort of half sort of forested, interesting ground. What the ball does on the ground, I think, is links-like. It's an interesting place. Renaissance Club, designed by the titular Renaissance Design, headed up by Tom Doak. It seems like a genuinely nice place, and it's a beautiful setting. The criticism I'd give it is probably similar to Evian, that it doesn't achieve what it sets out to achieve. It's right there in the same territory as Muirfield and North Berwick, and it just doesn't quite elevate itself to that status. But it clearly had designs to be
something like
mentioned alongside those golf courses, and it hasn't achieved that. And I think that's what always elicits that reaction of disdain, is when something doesn't achieve, whether it's a movie or whatever, like a DC superhero movie that thinks it's like all cerebral and world changing, and it actually is just a bit of like a couple of puppets smashing into each other against buildings. That stuff, it doesn't really achieve what it sets out to achieve, and I think that's what happens here with.
Do you think it lacks quirk?
With Renaissance. It definitely lacks quirk. If you look at all of the gradients of the little slopes and hills and everything, nothing's way out of control. There's even some extreme slopes, but they're just beautifully tied in. The whole thing is just so perfect.
Yeah.
It's shaped out, all the quirk is shaped out of it.
Yeah.
But it's beautifully shaped. Like everything is just like perfect gradients that flow into the surrounds and stuff. But down the road at North Berwick, there's all sorts of weird imperfections that look absolutely nuts. And they sort of punctuate that banal ground that you have at North Berwick. It's just flat and uninteresting, punctuated by these remarkable features. And Renaissance is just like every metre of it is sort of perfect.
Yeah.
Expect
to see lots of Instagram posts of players going to North Berwick, going to the kids' course at North Berwick.
That's always fun.
And going and playing all those sort of places around in their spare time because they're trying to gear up for next week, but also because they're getting the chance to. Mix of both tours, which is nice to see. You get sort of the guys who play in Europe full time, they're elite level guys, alongside the likes of the American-based Victor Hovland, Matt Fitzpatrick, Tommy Fleetwood, Ludwig Aubert, and the American contingent with Max Homa, Xander Schauffele, Colin Morikawa, Justin Thomas, those sort of guys. All eyes, though, I think, will be on Rory McIlroy, who makes his return after that crushing conclusion to the US Open. He's defending the title here, which he won, of course, with one of the shots of the year to beat Robert McIntyre, who hit a 3-wood close to the 18th hole, and then Rory hit a 2-iron very close. What do we think of Rory coming into this week and next week? Where do we think he's going to be?
This is exactly the sort of thing that he just wins, isn't it? Yeah. And then disappoints next week. So he's got to break that pattern. I think he should throw this tournament.
Yeah.
I think he'll go missing, to be honest. I think it was a very emotional couple of weeks, and I just, if his heart's not in it for a little while, I think the US Open's going to take a bit longer than just a week off at home to get over. So if he's a bit of a, he makes the cut and kind of finishes a little bit nowhere, and I think there might be some emotional, sloppy kind of errors and stuff like that, and I don't think you can blame him for that either. So I think it'd be a bit of a non-result.
Aussies in the field, Minwoo Lee, Adam Scott, who's actually been spending a whole lot of time at Royal Troon already, been there for almost a week, I think, so he's just ducking back to play this. Cam Davis and Jason Scrivener, good a time as any to get some tips. I'm going to tip Ryan Fox, because it feels like he's just he's going to take a step up at some stage. This is his sort of golf course. Like you say, it's not quite full-on links golf where he plays really well anyway, but he can sort of smash it around a bit more. So he is my tip. Matt, who do you like in Scotland?
I like Tom Kim. He's finished really well here before, and he played really well a couple of weeks ago at Travellers, and I think he doesn't hit it that far, and I think the length's not going to really hurt him here. He seems to be playing really well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like?
I'm staying in the Tom zone and going with Tom McKibben. So another, not Rory, but another young man from Hollywood Golf Club.
One L in Hollywood.
McClibbon, I'm declaring he's my new Ewan Ferguson. I've moved on.
This is his last chance.
Yeah. No, I'm going to give him a few chances, like I did with Ferguson.
Okay.
And now Ferguson's gone away and betrayed me with this win when I didn't pick him. So McKibben, he's, you're my man now.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the second time I picked him, and I'm going to persist.
I really hope Ewan Ferguson comes down and plays the Australian events, and we can get him into the studio to meet with
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Maybe a face-off at Bondi.
With Ewan Porter.
With Ewan Porter. Yeah.
Who's the new Ewan Porter? Might make 3 major starts, never make a cut, and kind of retire a bit early. Do we know?
No. We'll
find out.
We'll have a look, yeah.
Breakdown.
Yeah.
Look for someone slender, hip issues, and a bit spicy, yeah.
Moving along, but remaining in Europe. If the PGA Tour is trying to give its players a links tune-up, or at least adjacent, LIV Golf have kind of done the opposite.
They've zigged when
they've given their players at least a short flight to Scotland for next week, but there is few more stark differences in the world of golf than the links of Scotland and Real Club Valderrama, where they will play LIV Golf Andalucía this week. This is like love or hate type golf course, Valderrama. It's, of course, historic, hosted a Ryder Cup, countless European Tour events. It's pokey, it's dogleggy, it's tight, it's populated by trees, bunkers, ringing greens. It's all of that. I can't think of a place where, if you're trying to get ready for links golf, that would be more opposite, in all honesty. Usual field, though. The Bryson DeChambeau watch continues sort of to see if there's any major hangover. Hasn't posted on his YouTube because he wants it to be about the US Open next, and he's doing something big, apparently. So obviously had something in the chamber, but that's been pushed aside. Okay. The form of the fellow major chances as well, like your Cam Smiths and Brooks Koepkas, will be of certain interest. But the only person in the field who knows, well, the only person probably in professional golf who knows the course better than John Rahm is Sergio Garcia. Both big chances, both in the field. Rahm remains a big story, I think, after the US Open withdrawal, then teed it up the next week and played okay. And there was an infected blister, which just sounds disgusting. I think he's kind of got a point to prove, but maybe not. I don't think anyone knows.
Hasn't shown us enough, has he?
No, it's. I think he's just having a struggle with his game, maybe a little bit with his body as well. I don't think it's got to do with where he's playing necessarily, but he's there's a lot of noise around Jon Rahm, and there's never been noise around Jon Rahm. So it's interesting to watch how he's going to do that. So let's get a tip for LIV Golf Andalucía. I like saying Andalucía in case you haven't noticed.
Didn't you used to date an Andalucía for a while?
Not bad for you, actually. Who do we like at LIV Golf? Matt, I know you've got the LIV Golf app open as you continue to look for stats and standouts. Who do you like?
Well, LIV Golf Plus is great for facts and figures.
Okay.
But we're going with an obvious one, the hottest man on the planet, Richard Bland. Back-to-back major champ. He's really accurate. Valderrama's very tight property, and, I mean, gets that winning taste.
Blandemonium.
I don't think anyone's stopping him this week.
No, that's fair. I mean, he's won 2 senior majors very impressively. So,
yeah.
And around Valderrama, he would have played a lot of tournament golf there too. It's a sleeper pick. I like it. Logue?
I can't bring myself to pick Sergio, so I'm going Sergio adjacent and going with Joachim Niemann.
Okay,
his young protege.
That's very solid. I'm going to go with Jon Rahm because he has to win eventually. So this is just the law of averages kind of thing. The DP World Tour and PGA Tour also joined forces on the other side of the pond for the ISCO Championship. ISCO is not the Spanish footballer whose name I would not know how to pronounce, but there is one. That's what happens when you Google ISCO.
Wow.
But it is instead, according to their website, your trusted source for quality HDPE piping solutions.
I did not expect that.
No, me neither.
Pipe supply.
Pipe.
We had that door supplier.
Yeah, a door supplier a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, that was on the LPGA.
LPGA.
Yeah.
They are a Kentucky-based company, which is why they've taken over the Kentucky-based PGA Tour / DP World Tour event that used to be the Barbasol Championship, which was, of course, Barbasol, the shaving cream, great tea markers with the shaving cream cans. Disappointing to see them go. We'll see what the good folks at ISCO have come up with. But Keen Trace Golf Club, designed by Arthur Hills. Now, Arthur Hills, I reckon, could be the name of a golf course, don't you reckon? Yeah. Anyway, he designed Keen Trace.
Or a Bad Sav Blanc.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I like that. Plenty of birdies on offer, and it's a bit of a field mixed of kind of your regular DP World Tour and PGA Tour players, as well as a few of the veterans that get in on their categories and a few other guys. Included in the veterans, I noticed one of the last ins, KJ Choi. Always excited when KJ's around.
This field is just like...
It's a stretch, but...
there's a guy named D. Iceman in the field.
Nice.
Daniel Iceman. I don't know much about him, so I won't be picking him. But he's a Puma athlete. That's about as much as we know.
Okay. Yeah. There's Daniel Berger continues his return from a long layoff with injury, and there's like Cameron Champ, similar category, Kevin Kisner, who's part-time commentator, part-time playing, and then Australians Aaron Badley, Harrison Endicott, and David Micheluzzi gets a start. Who do we like at ISCO? Logue, you can lead us off.
It's a shame Maverick Antcliffe isn't in the field to...
Well, he played Asia last week, I'd say.
To take on Iceman.
Yeah.
Michael Thorbjornsen.
Yes.
I think he's one of those young talents that just sort of rears up and stamps their authority and just claims a win on a tournament like this. This seems like he's going to be the ISCO Championship champion. Nice. Michael Thorbjornsen, #1 graduate from PGA Tour University.
Where there's a lot of success coming out of. Great concept.
Yeah.
Really like it. Logue, that would be Matt. Who do you like?
I think, is it ISCO?
I think so.
Adrian Demont de Chassard is going to win. I think this is Kentucky's not a place for Europeans, but I think the Euro guys kind of come over and kick ass at these kind of things a little bit. So he seems to be a good young player. So I think the is that alliteration or the lettering?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I think alliteration will probably be a big theme this week. So let's go with that.
Okay, I'm going to go with Matty Schwab, because I'm very of the same opinion that the Europeans really do seem to show up and lift at these things because they're getting a chance. So, good player.
Andrew Beef Johnson in the field as well.
He is, as he continues to come back from. Yeah.
Oh.
There's some players in there that'll be interesting to watch, but it's a hard sell against all the other golf that's going on this week. It's also time for another senior major at the Colleague Companies Championship, which used to be called the Senior Players Championship, that they play at Firestone Country Club each year. It's a major of sorts because it's a major for the Champions Tour, but it's not a major for the Legends Tour in Europe. So it's kind of in a weird spot that these things happen. But there's a big Australian contingent, as there is every week, on the over 50s now. Of course, Matt's man, Richard Bland, not playing because he is playing a LIV event, but also because it's a Champions Tour only major. It's a different sort of setup.
I wouldn't count it.
Okay.
I don't count it, for the record.
Okay. Steve Stricker tends to win here every year, I think, but Steve Allen, Stuart Appleby, Greg Chalmers, Richard Green, Mark Hensby, Rod Pampling, Cam Percy and John Senden are the Aussies we'll be tracking.
Did Allenby get in the field?
No, he did not. No. But that is, we won't offer a tip up there because we've tipped a lot, but it's worth watching anyway. That will just about do us for episode 71 of Playing from the Tips. Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure to blood some new talent, and who knows, with those tips you could be back. That was actually insightful. I enjoyed that.
Talent might be a stretch, but thank you. I've had a great time.
And where can people find Angus and Grace Go Golfing?
Well, online, angusandgracegogolfing.com, but come and see us at our shop if you're in Sydney, 39 William Street, Paddington.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Down there. Great hangout spot. You often find Logue just milling around there doing nothing. You can find Mike Clayton there occasionally too.
Mike Clayton gets there. Logue has access to the cigar kind of VIP balcony. If he says he can get you in, he can't. So don't listen to him.
Logue, you will likely be back regardless of your results, but where can people find Adrian Logue?
Adrian Logue on Twitter.
Yep.
Adrian Logue on Instagram.
Whatever.
I've claimed all the Adrian Logues on all social platforms.
There was an Adrian Logue website.
Tower 2, are you in? Around the corner?
Tower 2. That's
not far from this.
Not far from the studio. That's right. You can, of course, follow along with all this action and so much more on the Golf Australia magazine website, golfaustralia.com.au. Thank you and au revoir even. We'll be back next week on Playing from the Tips.